What's up YouTube, Gemini Johnny back again with another compilation of creepy TikToks to make you question everything. Join me every Tuesday for a brand new reaction video to creepy TikToks, every Thursday for a conspiracy theory TikToks video, and every Sunday for a Sunday Scaries video, where I read you some of the scariest, weirdest, and most unexplained stories from around the internet and submitted by you, the subscribers. If you have your own scary or unexplained story you'd like to submit, you can send it over to my email, which I'll put up on the screen now. Or you can just DM it and I'll put the QR code up right there. If you're into any of the other social medias, you can follow me at Gemini Johnny on pretty much everything. Alright, now without further ado, let's jump right in.
Who the hell is in my basement?
Nope. Rose in a trench coat, he mean business. Nope. Why are you gonna run down there if you're just gonna run and hide as soon as the dude... If you don't go front kick that dude to the chest, man, these people... That's creepy. She was like, no, I'm good. I didn't just glitch out, don't worry.
Teleman var bröverdisk sinemahan tetke. Enge und genyan dos dogsik pukukla namen bremenesto. Stelogla hamalana lelo lendine enkren in stelest karadak.
We've covered that creepy dude before. Yeah, I don't know my thoughts on him. I don't like him. Yeah, that was weird. That was just some more creepy stuff he's doing. I don't know. I've been saying for years that dude brings shame to Christianity, and somehow he has that church with just thousands of people. You saw the Bible verse at the bottom of that. False prophets in sheep's clothing or whatever. I think that's true whether you're a Christian or not. I think there's people that will pretend to have all the answers and pretend to be telling you the right things, and they're not. And I think you need to be very careful with who you choose to place your faith in when it comes to people that you don't know, and people that are portraying an image and trying to sell you something on the internet, or trying to get your money in any way, shape, or form. Like, that dude, he's not even selling you anything. He just wants you to give him your money. I guess in a sense, he's selling you your salvation, the salvation of your soul, which kind of makes it more messed up now that I think about it. What a grift.
O piano tá tocando sozinho. Quem que é? Calma.
There's a lot going on the screen. They're very loud for trying to be quiet.
Junior, levanta. Brenda. Brenda. Tem alguém tocando piano, viado. Que isso? Hã?
Que barulho é esse?
Tá tocando piano, viado. Do nada, mano. Falco.
Corona?
Escuta.
Cadê o cara? Cadê o
Calma.
Cadê o cara?
Nossa, gente.
É o Igor.
Tá no quarto dele, pô.
Oh, that's actually... I thought it was like a sound effect to be creepy, but that's what they were reacting to. It's the piano. Go over to the piano, bro. I don't know anything they're saying. If anyone wants to translate that for me, let me know.
piano parou, pô. O piano parou.
Então é ele. Ele veio a gente gritar.
Que isso, cara? Olha lá.
Ai, gente do céu. O piano tá aberto?
Tá tocando essa p aí.
O piano não tá aberto.
Não tem ninguém, velho.
O piano tá aberto, pô.
Não tá tocando, mano. Não tem ninguém aí, velho.
Meu Deus, olha essa sala daqui de cima.
Caralho, viado. Mano, quem tá ali, viado? Não tem ninguém, mano.
Não tá aberto. Pode ser, amigo. Isso, porque
pode ser.
quando a gente tava aqui de tarde, a gente tava brincando. Tipo,
Ó,
olha,
foi embaixo, foi embaixo.
foi aqui.
Foi muito mais forte. Foi muito mais forte.
Alright, that's about as raunchy as I'm gonna get.
And then he jumps after her.
This story will send a chill down your spine. This is The Ride. A guy named Brad moved to a small town in Georgia and was settling in, meeting his new neighbors. And he learned that most of the residents there believed that one of the back roads that led in and out of town was haunted. But Brad didn't believe in ghosts, so he never really asked much about it. One day, he went to visit a buddy who lived an hour outside of town. The two ended up going to dinner and stayed out late, much later than he had planned. And by the time he left for home, it was late, around midnight. As he was driving, the road was pitch black. He could barely even see ahead of him. He was almost home when he squinted to see a woman walking along the road alone. Normally, he would have driven past, but it was late and it was about to start storming any second, so he decided to offer her a ride. She got into his car and held her hands up to the vents to capture the warmth, eventually taking off her jacket when she warmed up. And it was good timing as it started storming as soon as she got in the car. She thanked Brad for picking her up and said her name was Eve and directed him to her home. Eve was kind and just seemed lost. They eventually pulled up to her house, she thanked him again, and she went inside. But when Brad got home, he discovered that she had left her jacket in his car. He wanted to return it, so the next morning he drove back to the house where he dropped her off and rang the bell. An older woman answered the door, and he handed her the jacket. Brad said, "I gave your daughter Eve a ride home last night, and she left this in my car." It was then the woman began to cry. As she wiped away the tears, the woman said, "My daughter Eve was struck by a hit-and-run driver years ago. It happened on that back road, and when she was hit, she was wearing a jacket just like this one." After that, Brad became a believer and knew why all the locals spoke so often of that road being haunted. He just had no idea that he would end up giving that ghost a ride home.
Careful who you're picking up. You never know who might be a ghost or a serial killer. But then also, be a good person. Sometimes people need a ride. Oh, and by the way, drop a like for me. I appreciate it. You're the best. Here's one for you. Disturbing things done by dogs. Oh, how disturbing. Oh my gosh. This is the scariest thing I've ever seen. I feel like I'm gonna be attacked right now. I'm terrified. Look at this monster.
Fairy tales with surprisingly dark origins. The Little Mermaid. The original fairy tale begins the same as the Disney movie that we all know and love. The Little Mermaid falls in love with a prince living on the mainland, and strikes a deal to give up her voice in exchange for a chance to live happily ever after in his arms. However, this is where the similarities between the two tales comes to an end, because in the book, she doesn't just give up her voice. It is stated that with every step she takes, it feels like daggers are piercing her feet. In addition, she also fails in her mission to make the prince love her like she loves him, so the evil sea witch gives her another ultimatum: end his life and turn back into a mermaid, or perish herself. Blinded by love, the Little Mermaid refuses the witch's demands, and is immediately turned into sea foam forever as punishment. Comment if I should continue this series and what fairy tale I should do next, and follow for more.
I thought he was gonna say comment if you want me to do more hand movements. Is that what I'm missing? Is that what I need to start doing for my videos? Talking to you guys like this? For like a half a second there, I was gonna feel bad about making fun of that guy and his hand movements, but then I saw his TikTok name is He's So Swag. No, I've seen his video. I'm not trying to be a hater, but it was just funny to me. I don't know. Also, bro, if you see this, you gotta change that name. I don't know if you're stuck with it for branding reasons or what, but swag hasn't been a thing people say in almost a decade. Over a decade, I believe. But hey, he's doing better than me, so I mean, I'm not, who am I to say anything? Who am I to say anything? I'm such a dick.
Let's talk about this picture. Captured in 2008 by Daniel Young, this is one of the only pieces of evidence that this encounter actually happened. So Daniel was a custodian at Myrtle Elementary School where he worked the night shift. It's a pretty routine night. He's just listening to music when he's suddenly interrupted by the sound of a woman's laughter. He turned around and was terrified when he saw an unknown woman smiling from behind the corner. This was a locked school on after hours, so clearly she was an adult who broke in, so he tried to snap a picture to identify her and then chases after her. But when he turned the corner, she had already darted out of an emergency exit. Later that night, police are called to a home where they arrive at a tragedy. An unknown woman had broken into a nearby home where she knifed two parents, one who was the principal of this school, so brutally they were unrecognizable. One of the daughters who witnessed this woman before she got away described her as this person. Could this photo be of the same unknown woman? And what her connection is to the school and the principal, we don't know.
I don't know about all that.
The voicemail that I'm going to play for you is terrifying, so just a heads up.
Sweet.
This is the bizarre case of the Washington stalker. In February 2007, the Kilkindle family was just like any other living in Washington, until one day when their 16-year-old daughter Courtney's cell phone began sending strange and threatening texts to her friends. The messages were disturbing, and when Courtney's friends asked her about the messages, she had no idea where they came from as she didn't send them. Her phone seemed to be sending these messages on its own, and it was about to get so much worse. After that, a caller with a raspy, ominous voice began calling and harassing the family, threatening them and their pets. The unidentified caller knew every move the family was making in real time. The stalker knew what they were wearing and even what they were talking about inside their home. Chillingly, one day in the kitchen, the Kilkindles' mom was cutting up a lime when the caller messaged them and said they prefer lemons. The caller was watching the family all the time and seemed to be in control of their phones. They would shut on and off and their ringtones would change randomly. The family contacted police, and when they did, the caller told them to stop. And the stalker was close. The family reported hearing screaming and banging on their walls at night, and even called to play back the family's private conversations, including one they had with a detective. The family switched phone numbers, phone providers, but the stalker always got the new numbers. The family even installed a new security system to which the caller let them know that there was no point, they already knew the code to the alarm. And when police tried to trace the stalker, it always came right back to the Kilkindles' phones. Police initially suspected that maybe the family was behind this, but realized that that isn't possible as some of these phone calls were made when their phones were shut off. And when the same thing began happening to two other families in Washington, they knew they had a full-fledged stalker on their hands. Experts believe a hacker infiltrated the cell phone company website so they could remotely gain control of the phone's GPS tracking. It wasn't until the FBI got involved in the case that the calls suddenly stopped. But who did this and why remains a complete mystery, as the stalker was never identified. Really makes you think twice before you give your number out, doesn't it?
Scary things in Facebook's terms and conditions you didn't know you agreed to, part 1. Up first, Facebook keeps every single photo you delete. We've all uploaded embarrassing and weird pictures to our social media, but we usually think when we delete it, it's gone forever. But on Facebook, that's not the case. In the terms and conditions, you actually agreed and give permission to Facebook to actually keep and store all of your deleted photos. So next time you upload a photo to Facebook, just keep this in mind. Next up, you agree to let Facebook track every single one of your moves. Not only does Facebook know every page you visit, every image you look at, they also track every single one of your moves in real life. Facebook knows exactly where you are at every point in your life. You may be wondering how this could be allowed, and it's because you agreed to those terms and services.
Back in my day, we had this adage that we had to live by on the internet, and that was, once it's there, it's forever. It's stored on a server somewhere. Even those defunct websites, it's probably stored on like a Wayback Machine or some sort of file backup website. So definitely be wary of what you're putting on the internet. And for the second part, I would turn off your location services, especially for Facebook. And also when the little thing pops up on your phone and it says, this website that tracks your data, blah, blah, blah. I would do ask app not to track. I don't know that it really does anything, but it makes me feel better. And I'm sure that was the intention.
These are the creepiest YouTube channels to ever exist. Part 1. Number 1, Meat Sleep. Meat Sleep began posting in 2015 and has since then stopped posting, but that still doesn't change the fact that its horrifying videos and very disturbing history linked to the channel gives it a spot on this list. Meat Sleep then removed the several videos it had on the channel even after garnering over 16,000 subscribers, but that still doesn't change the fact that some people saw some very terrible things. Most of the channel consisted of videos that seemed to be of people being stalked, but there was one video in particular that people pointed out that really just got under their skin. There was one video on the channel titled Meat Pig, which in cannibals' terms is actually human meat. Many people believe that the creator behind these videos is secretly a murderer and a cannibal as well. I assume the creator of this channel is still unknown, but who knows, they may be in jail.
Legend or lie, the Witch of Yazoo. Back in the late 1800s, fishermen on the Yazoo River in Mississippi were vanishing without a trace. Some of the townsfolk thought it must be alligators or some logical explanation, but most knew better. Most people in Yazoo already knew about the hag who lived in the swamp, who would lure fishermen to her shack and then torture and kill them and hide their bodies in the quicksand. After enough fishermen went missing, the sheriff had no choice but to go into the Yazoo swamp and investigate the disappearances. When he did, he found the witch in the middle of one of her horrific acts. She fled into the swamp and he chased her as far as he could until she tripped and fell into the quicksand, and she couldn't escape and he couldn't help her. During her slow demise, she screamed and screamed until she cackled, and she looked straight at the sheriff and promised in 20 years she would return to Yazoo and burn the city to the ground. Not many took the witch's declaration serious, but the sheriff did. The police retrieved the witch's body from the quicksand, and he had her buried in the Glenwood Cemetery with the date of death of May 25th, 1984. The sheriff even had chains wrapped around the headstone as a precaution to keep the witch's spirit at bay. 20 years later, to the day, on May 25th, 1904, a massive fire raged through Yazoo, burning down 200 homes and businesses. On that day, Yazoo had its highest recorded winds in history, which fed the fire. And the people of the town noted the way that the fire twisted and moved as if it had a mind of its own. When this supernatural fire was finally put out, some of the townsfolk actually remembered the witch's declaration, and they rushed to the cemetery. They were shocked to find the chains surrounding the headstone had been broken. Could this really be a coincidence? Or was the Witch of Yazoo exacting her revenge on that fateful day? Let me know what you think.
I don't know, but all I know is somebody says they're going to put a curse on the entire town, and then that person gets put, you know, to the forever sleep. Then I'm going to probably move out of that town. Oh, I know. Yeah, what do you guys think of the Witch of Yazoo? Let me know in the comments. Disturbing things caught at Disney parks. She's trying to distract people. From this malfunctioning puppet. She keeps trying. This audience will never unsee what they saw. Does he like come out and hail Lucifer or something? Like, I don't get it. What's...
I feel like you've maybe heard of Roanoke. It refers to this area and colony that completely vanished in 1590, ultimately making it one of the most mysterious mass disappearances I feel like you've maybe heard of Roanoke. It refers to this area and colony that completely vanished in 1590, ultimately making it one of the most mysterious mass disappearances in American history. The colony itself was established by Governor John White, but when John left in the late 1580s to go fetch supplies from England, he came back and found something shocking. He arrives back in Roanoke by 1590 and everyone is gone. All that was left of the abandoned colony was the word Croatoan that was carved into a fence. Croatoan was the name of the Native American tribe that lived in Roanoke before the settlers stole it. So logically, we would assume they were responsible for the disappearance. But whatever really happened wasn't exactly adding up. No remains of those from the colony have ever been found. And even to this day, archaeologists have still yet to uncover any evidence of where all of those people went. In this mysterious conclusion, it would seem they simply vanished.
Yeah, that one's a super interesting story. The one theory is that they all migrated to another village off the island, essentially because of storms or potentially because of some reason. It was just... And also, the guy had left to get supplies because they were low on supplies, and then he came back like 5 years later, so they had to figure something out, you know? I think, was it 5 years? Hold on, let me go back. Late 1580s. Yeah, dude comes back like 5 years later. He's like, I can't believe everybody's not here anymore. My entire village that I went to get supplies for just disappeared. Like, what were you doing for 5 years, bro? How long does it take to get across the ocean back then? It could have taken more than 6 months. So he went back to England, collected supplies for 4 years, and then came back. It is wild that he thought that they would just all be there. I think they'll figure it out. I don't know, I'm sure there's more to it than that. I'm sure he wasn't the sole decision maker in that town. But yeah, obviously, I think, yeah, probably the most likely is that they packed up and went somewhere else. It was more accessible. Maybe they had a meeting and they were like, hey, we stole this island in the first place. Maybe we should just give it back to those people. And we'll just, like, there's a whole huge chunk of land right over here. We'll just go over there and find a spot. It's cool. We don't like being on an island anyway. You guys said Beachy Island, not North Carolina. Plot twist, they just packed up and went to Roanoke, Virginia. That's why it's called that. I'm sure we don't have good like weather reporting from the 1500s, so there's probably like a hurricane or something that came through and destroyed the town. I don't know. It being that being carved on the tree, I thought it was on a tree, but he said it was on a fence. It might have been on a fence. I don't know. But that being carved there and left there as like a monument to the people or whatever it was meant to be. There you have it, folks. That is another compilation of creepy TikToks in the books. We did it. We done it. We're doing it some more. If you enjoy this kind of content, you know the drill. Go check out my TikToktober series playlist or my 25 Days of Creepy playlist. I'll put them over here. You know how to find them. Join me every Tuesday and Thursday for a brand new reaction video and for Sunday Scaries, where I read the most disturbing, haunting, and unexplained stories from around the internet or submitted by you, the subscribers, every day at 4:15 p.m. PST. And join the channel for an extra reaction video for Member Mondays. Merch shop is live. You guys know how those things work. It's down there somewhere. Follow me on TikTok or Instagram at Gemini Jonny. And if you have a story that you'd like to submit for me to read in a future video, I will once again put my email at the top of the screen and I'll throw it in the description below. Why not? And until next time, stay creepy.